Okay, welcome to I don't even know. Every time I come into these things, I forget what episode I'm on. I think this is 18. 18, maybe 19, 20. I don't know. I'll get the right one posted. I should know this by now. My days have ran together. The numbers have run together. But today, on Beyond the Clover podcast with the host, Steven Steiner, that's me. I'm the YPA for Clinton, Caldwell, and DeKalb counties, if you didn't already know that. I am joined by my co-host and Northwest Regional Rep, Seth Hansen. And Seth, you're a Livingston County 4-H'er. And what club are you in?
Spring Hill Go-Getters.
There we go. And then Brent Seyer, who is the vice president of the State 4-H Council. And I don't know what county you're in, and I don't know what club, so I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm technically out of 4-H now since I am 19 years old, but originally I was from Cape Girardeau County. I go to school in St. Louis at Missouri Baptist University in Southeast Missouri 4-H. I was just involved in my Orangeburg 4-H club and some junior leaders here and there, but very active in Cape Girardeau County.
Oh, awesome. Who's the 4-H specialist there?
Well, it was Leslie Meyer, and then it's getting switched. It's new Genevieve. I cannot pronounce her last name, but Genevieve is her name. And the YPA is Marcia Burke, which you might know.
Oh, yeah. Marcia's amazing.
Yes, she is. She is amazing.
Yeah, I've had some communications with her, and I've talked about some things on calls, and she's emailed me and been like, oh, hey, here's this. And then we have a YPA group that she helps me out with. So shout out to them.
Well, Brent, I guess we'll get started. So I know you from the State 4-H Council, and that's where I first met you. So how did you get involved on the council?
Yeah, so just starting off in 4-H, kind of really a shy kid, which is shocking, I know, but growing in and getting more involved in 4-H, and it's all kind of started, I guess, at 4-H camp, and from there I just wanted more, and teen conference and Congress and YCLS, and there's all these events just kind of like pour into you, and it's like, I want to do more. And so getting involved and running for regional rep is a whole process, but like totally worth the time. And that just it starts all at the beginning, just getting involved and doing the little things, and just it's almost like a bucket of water. You know, every time you do a 4-H event, you put another drop in, and you just start filling it up all the way, and you know, filling your life with, you know, in your 4-H experiences, those little things here and there. And that's just how I got there over time, just little things, you know.
So how many years were you a rep before running for exec?
So I was rep 2 years, and then I ran for exec. So yeah, kind of a biggest regret with not running a year earlier, but that's beside the point. That's over with. So yeah, just 2 years and exec.
So has there been any interesting things that you've really enjoyed doing on the council during your time?
Yeah, so my favorite memories, best experiences with council is always state fair. I love the state fair. Just being able to see fairgoers come by, educating them on the fair and things livestock related, or just 4-H in general. Just being an ambassador 4-H at the state level at the state fair is just so much fun. There's so many cool opportunities at the state fair, and so much a variety of different things you can help with. So just the state fair is amazing.
For sure.
I've got a quick question. I want to jump in here on a couple of things. So the first time you went to run for regional rep, did you make it right out the gates?
Yeah, so I actually ran the year before and I did not get selected. And then it was a whole process. You know, I was like, and then I was kind of to the point where it's like, do I really want to do this? Like, maybe this is my thing. But then just kind of getting more involved and like, yes, I really want to do this. And going the extra mile that next year, like, really encouraged me to fulfill the duties. And, you know, almost failing that first time made me learn more and respect the position more, because I knew I had to earn it. And I had to do things to gain respect of my region and get to that level. And I think that really, I learned a lot through that process.
Yeah, that's one thing when I've talked to, and I've had a mixture on here of kids who have got it, hey, first time, and some that have, the first year they didn't get it, and then they came back the second year. Just having that resiliency to keep coming, to keep trying. And like you said, at first you were like, maybe this is not for me. And then the more you thought about it and the more set in and more time passed, you're like, no, this is actually what I want. The further you get away from that, let's say failure or not succeeding or the learning stage, however you want to phrase it, whichever is your cup of tea on that, you realize that you're like, okay, now that the hurt and the sting's over, it's like, oh, I want to get back in there. And, that's what I hope kids see from this is there's a lot of people who are successful who've made it to the, vice president of the state 4-H council like yourself, who the first time had a little bit of struggle that they faced.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of times just learning and understanding that failure is okay as long as you learn from it is very important. I think a lot of people now are just so scared to fail that it almost just drives them crazy and drives them away from whatever they're doing. I think understanding that, yes, it's okay to fail, but how you take that step after you fail is important, very important. It's almost vital for your success.
And I agree with that so much. And sometimes there's things that we tried that we are not successful at. And it's like, okay, did we fail? Yes. Or we learned that's not for me. And that's okay. And there's going to be some things where we're just like, that's not my cup of tea. I'm glad I tried and I did it to my best of my abilities and took it as far as I could, but I just didn't make it that next step. But my passion's not there, but let me go try something else. And I know I have the drive and that experiences to know what I can do, and
Yeah.
what I want to do, I'll stick with.
Yeah.
And I have a question. We were talking about state fair and stuff like that. When I was, this would have been 2009-ish. I was out of the Hereford Association, so I would have been past like 21 years old on the junior member. And at the state fair, what I wanted to do was work with, start a mentorship where our older kids mentored our younger ones on showing and the show mechanics and stuff like that. And then the other thing that I hoped that we would do, and I don't think it ever got anywhere, but it was be an advocate. And it's hard to tell with my Midwestern twang, but that's ag, but kit. So, and I think that what would be cool is to take like an informational sheet for the general public on what we're doing inside the show ring and why. Just so when we have passerby, if we could educate them on what we're doing, I think that would bring more clarity and maybe some more visitors and attention to what we do on stuff like that. And you guys, you do that in a sort of way at the state fair building. Don't you guys have games and activities and kind of explain some of the stuff that we're doing? And
Yeah.
So when I found out 4-H was doing that, I was like, that was something, that I thought was really cool. And I'm glad I'm jumped on that. Have you helped with some of those events that they have there?
Yeah, I've helped for the last 3 years now, because last year and then the 2 years before as a regional rep. We just put some random things throughout the fair. Like there's always need for help at the fair, whether it's there's always a need for 4-H building, but like we have very important places to be as well, like the show rings, like you were saying. Most of the time with those things, we help with like ribbons or just organizing for the people calling out, and it's just little things here and there, but that plays a vital role in just being there and showing people that we're involved with the program and there to help when they need is very important to see by the public. But like outside of there, you hear so many questions about just everything fair. Why do we show cattle? Why do we have halters on them but not the pigs? Like things like that. Like just explaining to the general public that agriculture and the importance of agriculture and how like Missouri is our number one industry is agriculture, and how that plays a vital role not only in 4-Hers and FFA members, but also in like an economical standpoint that Missouri like strives off of this. So, and I also help with building. I was assistant superintendent of poultry at the state fair last year, so I got a different viewpoint of the fair that way. Just understanding like how poultry works, and there's a lot of questions at the poultry building. Like why, I've heard everything from like why are the birds in cages to why, like what's this breed and what's its characteristics, like just things like that. getting to the general public, just educating them on these things is like a really good tool that we have access to, being advocates for the 4-H building and their in general.
So
Yeah.
sorry, Seth.
I was just going to say, knowing Brittany's like loving chickens, so I was just going to ask how he got to that spot, because that's pretty cool to be assistant superintendent just out of high school.
Yeah. So I kind of got into that through 4-H actually. So it's weird. The whole story is weird. So I actually wasn't into poultry until one of my good friends was like, you should try poultry judging. And I was like, oh gosh, like this could be interesting. Like the only thing I know about poultry is how it tastes. Like that's about it. And so I got involved there and just soaked up all the knowledge I could from poultry, state poultry contests, and went to nationals once and placed pretty good in the egg division. And then I went back to nationals in a barbecue contest, the turkey barbecue contest, and ended up winning the national championship, which was probably one of my best 4-H experiences. And then went back in chicken and did pretty well there too. But yeah, I just kind of got involved there, and then helping out with 4-H poultry judging and competing in FFA. I got recognized by one of the people that helped run those contests, and they're like, well, I think I need you on my team. So he's like, I'm going to have you help. And so just kind of got involved there, and Tony Perriman's done amazing things for me. So just moving up forward through there and keep going forward, and hopefully one day get more involved and take it one year at a time.
That's funny. So, and I didn't mean to interrupt on Seth, but so I was cruising through the campgrounds one night. I stayed with a friend, and it wasn't the inner campgrounds. It's the outside one over there. It's over there by, I think, State Fair Community College. I think that's the one. It's been a bit. So we're cruising around there, and here on the speakers from the barn, and I think it was the champion pin was missing. And if anyone had seen it, well, as I'm listening to it, I'm close enough to the barn. I'm like, I just passed a flock of chickens. There was like two or three of them running around. And I was like, why? That's a strange place to have chickens. So, and then we, I was like, well, what in the world? I don't know if someone pulled a prank or, was trying to steal these champion chickens or whatever they were. But yeah, they were one of those deals. And I stopped and told some friends that I stopped. I think we were on a golf cart, maybe in a truck. And I was like, there's some chickens back there, and I just heard them call that they're missing chickens. So, yeah, it's one of those things that, like, at 7 o'clock in the morning, you're making your way to the barns. You're just like, did I just see chickens on the way in? But you're like, when it gets like day 5 of the state fair and you haven't slept in a while, everything seems kind of, ran together. And you're like, maybe that wasn't what I saw. But, yeah, so that's my story on the chicken deal.
Funny.
So, Brent, we were talking earlier about stuff that we don't really enjoy doing in 4-H. Do you have any unusual projects or things you only maybe did for a year or two?
Yeah, so if you know me, I'm not a crafty person. I used to be in arts and crafts, and it was like really, like, I thought I did really good, and like I get to the fair and it's like it might get a blue ribbon, but like I felt like it was like just one of those things, is like they felt bad if they wouldn't give me a blue ribbon kind of thing. So it was like, oh, but arts and crafts are definitely out there for me. Like I can do little things, but those kind of projects are not my thing.
I could put googly eyes on a rock, but that may be the extent of my ability. No, I definitely did not peg you as an arts and crafts person.
No, that's why I'm not anymore.
So going on, you're through 4-H now and going to college. Has there been any lessons, I guess, that you've taken from 4-H that have really helped you through your first couple of years out of high school?
Yeah, so just having the advantage to be a better public speaker. When you get to college, you're going to have to do a lot of presentations in front of a lot of professors. And people stress out a lot about those presentations. And just having that extra step, like I've done demonstrations my whole life. Speaking in front of people is not an issue for me whatsoever, like right over my head. But just having that extra mile and being able to talk whatever it may be I wrote a paper on 4-H, and my research paper for my Comp 2 class was about volunteers and how effective we can make them through certain trainings, and just doing a lot of research on it. And like a lot of my papers seem to focus back onto two things: 4-H or poultry. And back to the demonstrations, like just having that extra mile and having these skills in your back pocket that that anytime, like if I want to talk about something, I can go back to something at 4-H and I can talk for days. But having these skills that you've developed over a long time, it gives you the extra mile for sure.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that myself, because a couple months back, did a presentation in front of our city council, and you can definitely see how 4-H has helped me there. So real impact.
So how long were you in 4-H? I mean, I know you're finishing out, but did you start as a Clover kid? Did you start middle school? When did you start in 4-H?
So I started as soon as I possibly could. I was in Clover Kids the first meeting I could be at, I was there. And then from there, I just, was involved a little bit, but then got in 4-H and, still was involved, but not as involved as I was moving forward. And, just like I was saying earlier, just putting those little things here and there, and just got more involved. And sometimes I feel like my plate's a little full, but just trying to do every experience. You only get a few years to be in 4-H. It's only a small part of your lifetime. So taking those experiences and really applying them and learning from them, very valuable.
Now, were your parents in 4-H, or was this something that they decided to sign you up for, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so my dad was in 4-H in a small club in the same county, not too active though, and my mom was in for a few years. But I actually got approached, a lot of you might know watching this video, but by Dustin Nail, his mother, talked to my mother, and then so I was like, show up at this meeting, kind of had no idea what I was going to be doing, but from there it just grew.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. What was your favorite project in 4-H?
Well, we talked a little bit about poultry already, and there's nothing that for me can top poultry. Having some birds of my own and being involved in Save Poultry Day and going to national contests, and definitely poultry, just from all the experiences and having just all the experiences and being involved.
Now, did you start poultry from the time you were 8, or did this come to you later?
This started around like 11, 12. It wasn't when I was 8.
Okay. I thought it was a little bit later in the when your friends. Okay, I got you.
So, talking about your favorite project, was there any particular favorite memory that goes along with that, or funny story to go along with poultry?
Well, so we were at the national contest when my first year I went for poultry judging. The second year I went back for national, it was a barbecue contest, and I was doing turkey barbecue. And the best friend ever since I got involved in poultry, was also doing the chicken barbecue. So we were there at the same time. It was very, very fun experience. But we got to the point, the contest was over, and there's this very formal meal, and we're just sitting there and just goofing around, and everyone else is so serious, and we're kind of in the back, and we think we had a shot at doing something, but not anything great, and we put all our effort into it, but at this point we're the results counted now, we're just gonna have fun, and we're just sitting there, and we have these glasses, and we're ringing and making the noises, all of a sudden they say Brent Seyer, the national champion Brent Seyer, and I was like, what about me? What? And then I was shocked, it hit me, and I about passed out. And then so I got up to stage, and then I sit back down, and I'm just waiting there, and then they go through the chicken people, and my best friend also won first in the chicken barbecue. So we were just both national pairs, which was awesome experience. But the fact that we were just goofing around before, and I was in shock that my name was even called, was a great experience.
I can see Brent just sitting there with the
yes, I'd like to say that you're the national champion. You're like, wait, who? Are they talking to
Yeah.
me? And you're like, maybe I should have paid attention.
Yeah.
Would have been bad if they would have been like, yeah, in third place, and you're like thinking, and you think they were talking about the first place because you were still in shock and went up later in somebody else's slot.
Yeah. Glad that didn't happen.
Oh, that's.
So was that your friend who won? Was that the person who got you into poultry originally, or was that
Yes.
someone else?
Yeah. So he was into it before I was in a few years, and then like I kind of got into it around 11, 12, and we just kind of like grew with it together. So like we were really close, and everything we did with poultry was usually together, and so we just soaked up all this knowledge and try to apply it and figure things out that we were struggling on. Like it was really cool because we had that communication and connection that we just worked really well together.
I'm not a big barbecue person, but not going to ask for your recipe, but what's the key to a good chicken there, Brent?
Well, it's keeping it from drying out is the biggest thing. So the contest was on a barbecue grill with charcoal, and keeping it from drying out is the struggle. So whether that means applying something to it mid recipe or like wrapping it in aluminum foil or something like that, just keep it from drying out. Because that's the biggest struggle. Making sure it's done is because you have a time limit. So like a lot of people were not getting it done. So that's the big struggle, is getting it done but not getting it dry.
Interesting. So was there any one person that you looked up to? You mentioned Dustin kind of got you into 4-H, but was there any one person who guided you or you looked up to as a role model throughout your years?
Yeah, so like I said, Dustin got involved, and we were in the same 4-H club growing up, and of course he's a lot older than me, and of course he went off to college and moved on, and we still talk quite a bit. But during 4-H, I really looked up to like Bridget Schumer. She was a regional rep a few years before me, and we really talked a lot about next steps and getting more involved and how to participate more in 4-H. And she was just a good role model for me just moving forward and learning about opportunities, and always there to like listen to my rants or advice or whatever it may be. She was just a great person.
So, what other state events did you participate in? You said team conference. Obviously, state congress would be one, correct?
Yeah.
State public speaking.
I never attended state public speaking, actually. I don't know why I didn't, but just never, I guess, went that route.
So, have you hit pretty much you've done a demonstration and stuff like that at state?
Oh yeah, many demonstrations. Yeah.
See, that's kind of strange to me, Brent. I think you'd be a extemporaneous speaker going out there.
Wow. Yeah. No, I definitely do enjoy speaking. That's kind of doing some state events was kind of one of my biggest regrets. Looking forward, just not taking that extra mile. Like I was involved in poultry judging, and that was my big thing. But I also did meat ID one year. But I really wish I would have got more involved in public speaking. I've given a lot of speeches, but like having a more background. Most of my speeches, well, Seth can probably attest to this. He saw my one I was running for was revolved around learning something in 4-H or poultry, and that's just kind of, I guess, my strong suits, and so that's what I talk about a lot. But yeah, so just that's why I wish I would have participated in more state events when I was at the age.
You say 4-H and poultry. And the very first council meeting I was ever at last year, we were told to bring an item that represented us and an item that represented our county. And my very first impression of Brent was him standing up in a chicken hat and saying, "Hi, I'm Brent Seyer, and I like chicken." This dude's a whack job.
Yep. That was, yep.
I for sure was waiting for him to tell him, and here comes the live chickens, and he's just turning chickens loose in the council. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Dad chickens running around the state 4-H building.
Oh my.
So you're out of 4-H now, and I think you said Missouri Baptist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct.
what are you going to school there for? What are you majoring in?
So my major right now is secondary education with a minor in biology. So degree track for a high school science teacher. But from there, I plan to transfer to Mizzou, get my master's, hopefully in ag ed or youth development, and try to be a 4-H youth specialist.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's where I was gonna. That was my follow-up question. Was gonna be, are you gonna be shoot for the 4-H specialist? Hey,
Yeah.
we could always use some more talented kids, especially. That wasn't a shot at you, Seth, but I'm just saying.
So is there anything that you see 4-H has really guided you to do in college, or certain clubs or activities that you've really gained an interest in?
Yeah, so this is actually a club on campus. It's called MBU Outdoors, so Missouri Baptist University Outdoors. And it's a club that focuses on like being outdoors, enjoying like the nature, and like I feel like just being involved in 4-H and getting to that club. Like, yes, it's not any kind of collegiate 4-H, which I'm kind of in the works of trying to start a collegiate 4-H there, but we'll see how that goes. But just having experience and meeting a lot of people, but yet like having a great experience, like, yeah. So
So how have you found balancing your college life and education there and the state 4-H council responsibilities and duties?
definitely time management. Focusing on like when I have time available, focusing on doing those things. And this semester was all messed up because of the whole pandemic, but focusing my time on almost setting a schedule and having like this time I have class and this time I'm going to do homework, but this time I'm going to focus on that, and planning out my day weeks at a time, so that I know that like, yes, school's important and priority, but like 4-H is right behind that. So knowing that like I need to get this done, and once I get that done, I can work on stuff for 4-H, and just planning things ahead and having that schedule is tremendous. I'm sure you guys can relate to that.
For sure. No, definitely. Time management's definitely been a big part of what I've been trying to get better at because of 4-H and FFA and showing livestock and keeping up with grades, and definitely something.
Yeah.
Well, that's like talking with Seth about this conversation, having you on the podcast, and he was like, I've got a lot of stuff to do. You know, I got to stay on top of schoolwork and all the other activities. And then I was like, okay. And so it wasn't like, and I was in the middle of a work call at the same time, and I'm trying to keep up with Seth because I want to make sure I get your information and everything so I can reach out to you. And then he was like, so, you know, I got to thinking about this whole deal, and I didn't respond to him right away because I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He was like, well, I think I can make time and make sure I'm there. And I was like, good. I needed a good co-host. So I was glad that he was able to manage his time to work 4-H in this conversation in there as well.
Yeah.
Turkey season's been throwing my schedule off.
Here I am not trying to divulge, you know, that you're slacking, and then you go ahead and divulge that you're slacking. Thanks, Seth.
No, turkeys haven't been too kind to me this season.
So, Brent, where do you find 4-H in the time right now where are you at home, I assume?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you're at home right now. Are you still classes online, all that stuff? Is that what you guys moved to?
So our classes ended last week, but I'm doing a summer class starting Monday, so 2 days ago. So, you know, still kind of, it's one class. Just getting one of those classes out of the way and don't have to focus on it on the school year. So still involved with classes, but definitely not as much as I was. Last week was stressful.
So, but that's freed up your time to focus on 4-H and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay. And you talked about summer camp. Now, were you a 4-H counselor and all of that stuff at camp, or?
Yes. So I started off very young age going to camp. First year I could. Super excited about it. Loved camp absolutely. kept going through. I was a counselor in training at 14, and I don't know what they meant by counselor in training because they put me by myself. But besides the point, it was a group of 4 kids, so it was a struggle. 2 of them had some issues, and we had to resolve that. But 4 kids, you thought it would be easy. They were very difficult, I thought. But that first year was a big learning curve and understanding like how to relate to kids and how to get like talking about time management a second ago, like how to get kids to the right spot at the right time. We go to a camp that's it's not super tight, but like it's spread out quite a bit. So getting them across camp back and forth at time management was very much a learning experience. And then just moving up from there, getting more involved. And from there, I was the youngest kids counselor. And so those 8-year-olds coming in, having no idea what camp was, like just excited me so much. Getting to see their experiences like I had my first year and just seeing the awes and like, we get to play dodgeball or like we could go swimming in the lake and just things like that just really excited them. And I was so excited just to see their reactions and be in their 4-H journey.
What was your selection like for camp counselors? Because it's interesting to listen to different regions and different counties' process of going through camp counselor selection.
Yeah, so we had an application, and the application would go through selection, and then the specialists and YPAs would go through and they pick the ones they like. Usually most people would make it just because we always have a need for counselors because we have a decently sized camp. We only have one camp. I know some people's camps are like week after week after week after week. Ours is just a one camp all the way from 8 to 14, and then boys, girls, both combined. So there's always a need for a lot of counselors because of the need for campers were there. So they go through, they select, and then they kind of put who would be good together and what cabins and what groups to be together. And from there, then we kind of start planning camp as a whole, but then also think about like as groups. So like usually together guys in the girls group. So like the 8-year-old guys and then the counselors and then the girls and then their counselors. And they would be a group and they'd be focusing on, they do all the activities together through the day, but yet they'd be focusing on like how can they get those kids to like interact, and because they're going to be with them the whole camp experience. So we just went through there and a lot of counselor training here back and forth, but staff kind of played that role of selecting counselors and placing them, and that almost person that just determines things. So yeah.
So what's your camp like? Because like we have a block schedule in the morning, and then we go to swimming at the Trenton pool, and then we kind of just have a little bit of evening programming time. So what do you guys do for your camp?
Ours is very scheduled. So like in the morning you have 5 different activities and you have like a rotating schedule in the morning. And almost like a block. So hour block, and like there's a 10-minute break for walking or whatever. And then we have breakfast, of course, before lunch, and then the dinner is the same way. You have a smaller block of like 3 or 4 activities, and then in the evening, like one's a dance. Then the next morning is dodgeball at 6. It's like optional, which is not really optional because it's the best time in the world. But yeah, you kind of rotate through, and so like your swimming at the lake is broken up. So each group kind of does it on their own. Instead of everyone being there at one time, it's broken up. It's like one of the activities for the day. So it's very much scheduled into a point where there's not too much free time / cabin time. It's more where there's always something for someone to do. So the kids that are like very extroverted like me have that experience and get the energy out. And we also have activities for people that are a little more quieter. So just figuring out and like having it so scheduled so we know what the plan is before camp happens, and we know how to manage our time, and it's put together in a very efficient way.
Has Seth ever told you about the going through our selection process and what that's like?
I have not, but you guys have a crazy schedule with camp, because don't you have like groups, like a rotating, like 1 week is this camp, 1 week's the next camp, correct?
We have two weeks.
We have 2 weeks.
Camp. Okay. So that has to be crazy with 2 weeks instead of 1.
Yes. And it's always challenging because by the time the staff and most likely, I think Kyle's been one of the only few people, Seth's brother Hansen, always together. and there's that other member for the band that they have, but they don't talk about that brother much. But so Kyle's the only one that had went there for the 2 weeks. But by the time the staff and everything's done with week 1, you're like, oh, you got week 2. So then you got to go. You have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and part of Monday to rest up and get ready for another week. And you want that week to mirror week 1 and how great it is. And sometimes it goes off without a hitch, and then sometimes you're like, oh, it's week 2. It's like, it's another day. And new set of kids, and, you get one set of kids figured out and how they like to do everything. And then here comes the second set of kids, new learning process, new needs, and all that stuff. It's a great time, but it's a challenge. I'll say that.
So do you guys have counselors roll over to, like, counselors do 2 weeks, or is it just 1 week for counselors?
Just one. We had for our for boys this year, we had 14 to 16 guys go through the process, and 33 girls.
Wow.
So, and I believe, and I could be wrong, I think we took all the guys, and then we didn't take all the girls because there's too many of those. So I think we took like the 12 to 14 out of that group on that deal. So yeah, that's one thing that, going to be a camp counselor and that stuff, it gets tough because some people make it, year 1 and don't make it year 2, or they make it, both times, and it gets tough. But, when you have the kind of numbers that we, had, especially on girls this year, it's kind of like one of those things, like, you just got to understand it. It's tough. And when we select as staff, we've got to look at how they're going to do as a group, working together with each other, plus working with different kids. It's not like, it's okay, well, these are my county kids. They're going to do well with my kids. That's fine. How are they going to do with everyone in the group, everyone total?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Okay. So, like, with us, with our camp, it was kind of interesting with my time there, because when I first started camp, it was just Cape County. So it was just one county, and they did their own camp. And I guess at some point, all these camps split. So we had one big camp and it split. And so then we had 3 different camps in the region. And throughout my time, they started to merge together. So when you have 3 different sets, you also have 3 different sets of counselors. And those counselors all want to be apart, and sometimes they don't bring enough kids to be with it. So one year we had 2 sets of counselors put together, and the next year we brought in another group of counselors in. So it was just an interesting process of, they had to be very cautious of how many kids they had compared to counselors, because, you brought in 3 crews. In 2 years, you brought in 3 crews of counselors instead of just having one crew, because we merged together those 2 years. So it was just an interesting experience, seeing, like, all of a sudden all these kids come in. It's like, oh, we have another set of counselors. And they're like, oh, we have another set of counselors. Kind of combining more to like a Southeast region camp instead of individual camps.
Is your whole region into one camp now, or is it still?
Yeah. Yes. So it's all in one region, or all in one camp now. So it was just an interesting process seeing that go through, combining it.
See, in the Northwest region, I think we got like 14 or 16 of the 20 counties that we have in the region. I think it's 20. It's 18 to 20 now. Every time I turn around, it feels like that it's changed on that. Yeah. But we still have a few that have been, lifetime members of another camp that, when the regions changed, the camps didn't. So yeah. Seth's got to tell you about the wearing the headphones and trying to guess word phrases and stuff like that. That's his favorite one.
At our camp counselor selection, one of our YPAs had brought a game of you had headphones on playing this music, and you had to guess what your partner was saying, and it was some weird made-up phrase like the beavers are trying to overthrow the human race. And it makes no sense. They're trying to put together what words make sense, and it seems so easy, but it took me a solid 2 minutes to get it my first time.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, and your time. So we're trying to work on your nonverbal communication skills and stuff like that to see who's going to get the quickest and how you interact and communicate with different people. And sometimes, and I can't remember, did he mix up the partners or did he let you choose them? I feel like he did one of each, but I couldn't remember.
I think he did first when you chose your partner, and then he mixed them up. But
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's a cool activity. Wow, that would be very
good for council next year.
Yeah, but like I'm just thinking about it now. It's like you can make it very easy by very simple sentences, but I'm sure that's not the case. Like you can make it, like you said, some weird sentences thrown in there, and like you have no clue what they're saying.
Yeah, it gets pretty interesting, and then you're trying to guess it, and there's people who are good at reading lips who might have an advantage, or they think they are, and then they're still completely wrong because they're like, that doesn't make any sense. This word should be here, and they're like, that's not right. And it's an interesting time that when you go through the selection period, because you find out which kids are the new ones who are coming in, how they communicate well with the group. Are they going to be standoffish? Or are they going to jump right in? How do they work as far as the teamwork? Are they the ones who take charge and run it like with an iron fist? Do they kind of step back and just lead naturally, or just step all the way back and just, hey, I'm good at being a follower and doing the instructions that are given to me? And then when we do our selection, we kind of want a mixture of all of them, because you need some people who can also listen and may not be as far as like you can be a strong leader without taking charge.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I'm trying to say is we're looking for some of those kids as well to mix in there and make sure we have a balance.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of my favorite things throughout the winter when we don't have too much going on, is looking forward to that camp counselor selection, just getting to meet those different people. And you definitely see some different personalities come out. Because like we were talking earlier, Braylon, she's one of the most competitive people out there, but you never guess it just talking with her.
Yeah.
I
think that's cool.
Oh, sorry. What was that?
No, you're fine. Go ahead. No, I think that would be really cool. Just have that experience. Like, yes, probably most of the people there, but like seeing how everyone just works together, and who's taking control, and who's listening really well, and seeing all like everyone's key factors by these games are like probably a huge like factor in like who you select and how they work together. So
yeah, it's interesting. And this is so Braylon, we have cabin challenges with is minute to win it games and
mm-hmm.
riddles and stuff like that to go through, and is it go ball, gaga ball? I can't remember that.
Gaga ball, my God.
So
I know you're talking.
We have that, and then we play Nukem at night, and so and then we kept points on some of that stuff, and then Braylon's cabin, I think all but maybe 2 or 3 events was first place, and the ones that they weren't first place in, they were second place. Like just girls' cabin, insanely competitive. All of them, like if they didn't win, we're talking almost tears, and we're like, okay, let's pump the brakes here a little bit on that. Let's not stray from what we're trying to get. But yeah, and Braylon outside of competition is great, but you find a way for her to compete, and she is gone. So what was your favorite thing to do at camp as a camper?
Yeah, so being a very extroverted person and like socializing all the time, with always meeting new people and just getting to see everyone. And, once you get involved in camp one time, you don't see those guys sometime until next year. So having that experience every year, like seeing them catching up, talking. Of course, the dance was amazing. Swimming in the lake, all those things just made my camp experience very much so the best. But also dodgeball. I'm very much a competitive person too. Seth can confirm that. But dodgeball in the morning, sometimes I was a little too rough with the dodgeball. You can ask Stephanie Schindler, like, I hit some kids pretty hard sometimes. But it's like, oh, I didn't mean to hit you that hard. You shouldn't have been standing there or something like that. But I had to be very careful because, you are playing dodgeballs, and throwing dodgeballs, and sometimes you have some 8-year-olds there, and sometimes it's like a 14-year-old, and you hit a 14-year-old, it's not as bad as hitting an 8-year-old in the face. Like, didn't try to hit him in the face. Sometimes it just happened. It's like, oh, but dodgeball was always very competitive, and we kind of broke it out in between like age groups, and we always did a counselor versus kids, which was terrible because there's like 400 kids and like not as many counselors. Like it was, but dodgeball was amazing. Swimming, socializing, everything. Like loved it.
Did you ever do counselors versus staff? Because we had that, and Seth and his counselors, they got beat by the old people.
Okay. I just like to point out there was some cheating going on.
How dare our youngest staff person is what, 26, 27, I think how old Cody is. Our oldest is 70. You shouldn't lose, period.
Hey, easy.
That had to be interesting. I could just see, because I'm sure Becky Simpson was involved too, and I'm sure she was just taking you guys down. Oh my goodness. But yeah, we never really did that. I don't really picture a lot of our staff members getting too much into dodgeball. They're just, I don't think that kind of person. But I think it would be interesting. It wouldn't be much of a challenge, but maybe I'll mention that for next year when they have camp.
Brent, what you need is you may have dodgeball, but do you have 4-way dodgeball?
Oh, that's
yeah.
I've never thought about that. That's really cool.
See, you get 4-way dodgeball going with sponges while it's 80 degrees and humid. That's fun time.
Yeah, that would be fun. So what's your favorite thing is how you like it camp from a counselor to a camper itself? Did that change for you? Was there things that you're like, oh, I kind of like this a little bit different?
Definitely was a big change. Just having that almost responsibility to make sure the kids have a great time, besides just me thinking about my priorities and thinking like I'm going to make the best of it. More so thinking, how do I make this the best for everyone? What do I need to do? What do I need to go the extra mile? Like understanding your kids and getting to know them, so you know where you can get them involved and like where they're not so comfortable. Just understanding that and getting them involved and seeing their expressions. Like most of the time I was a counselor, I had the youngest kids, and that really hit my personality because like I was one of those kids at one point, and like most of the kids are kind of crazy and wild, and we always had this thing called shower races, and it's exactly how it sounds. Basically, you get in the shower, you wash your body real quick, and you get out, and that's a way for, yes, like they kind of got clean, but yet they got in and out of showers because most of our cabins only have like 2 bathrooms. And so like there was like a shower or maybe 2 showers, and they got them in and got them out, got them in, got them out. And just very efficient, but yet a kind of fun game you played like while you're getting the kids ready to go to bed.
One of my first couple of years as a camper, and I think it was before Steven got there, they had somehow gotten the water from the showers, which were clear in the back, into the aisle walkway in between the bunk beds. And so they had gotten soap and stuff, and it's like, these are cement floors, and like that was not a good idea.
Oh
so,
my goodness.
Did you guys keep your cabins clean?
Yeah, so we always had a clean cabin award, and it was always a competition. Well, for the girls usually. My kids always wanted to make the opposite and see if they could be the dirty. We never had an award for the dirtiest cabin. They just wanted to make sure their cabin was the dirtiest. And I was like, whatever. Just remember what stuff is yours, kind of thing. But it'd be like they purposely like. I remember one year that they shoved underwear like on the ceiling and like stuck in like a ceiling tile just to like make it look like it was trashed. And I was like, okay, that's a little far, but like kind of funny too. But they would go the extra mile usually. It's like, let's make it the dirtiest. It's like, okay.
Was it not last year, but the year before last? The boys actually stood up and won the cleanest cat. I'm talking the floors were clean enough, like they swept, mopped. Like I felt comfortable eating off of them.
We had kids that wanted to mop in my cabin, and I did not understand. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you guys to, but if you really want to, you can go ahead.
Oh, wow. That's surprising.
That's the only time I have ever seen, and I mean, not a speck of dirt anywhere, not a paper out of place. Like, and then it was the two boys cabin, one of the weeks went at it like we decided one of them. And of course, they're trying to bribe the staff, like that's
Hey,
going to
it's
work.
not bribing, it's insurance. It is not bribing, it's insurance. There is a difference.
Have you noticed there's a guilty party in this conversation? But really what it came down to was like one cabin had like a tiny, like just a speck of paper that like I don't know if they're just ripping up names to put in a hat to draw out. It was on the floor. But that's how we decided it was a deal like that. But they're like, oh yeah, since we bribed them, yeah, that's why we won. I know that wasn't it.
We didn't bribe them, we insured.
What was it exactly that was left?
For me, I left oatmeal cream pies.
And see, I don't like oatmeal cream pie, so when he left them for me, I was like, okay, these do nothing for me.
I think April liked them most, so.
There you go, throw people under the bus.
It's not bribing, Steven. If it's a good product, it's just insurance. If my cattle was dirty, that's different.
Do you guys get this extreme?
Not that extreme. Probably on the opposite end. Like, not so much like bribing. It's like who can trash the most. And so it's like there's limits though. Like, I don't let them just like open stuff and throw them and smear them. Like, that's a little extreme. They've tried, trust me. But like, there's been some interesting things that happen, like with where they throw their clothes and how bad they make it. But not that serious.
That's truly awesome. So now, what has your experience been like on the 4-H Council?
It's been a very positive one. Just learning and understanding and getting to know people across the states and hearing ideas that they have and things that they do in their regions and thinking, how can we make something in our region a little better by taking like ideas and things that not just make your region better, but also make the state better. That's the whole purpose of the council is to be advocates for the program, but also to see what needs to be changed and how we can bring that up to the state staff and really get those things to move forward. And so like just getting more involved and hearing ideas and bringing them back and communicating those really effectively with the region and the state staff members just really like brings the great things to council. And
so when you were going through this running for vice president, what was that like? And then what was it like, how it was announced and what was your reaction to all that?
Yeah, so our application is due like before the new year. And so then you're selected at the February meeting or January, whenever it's scheduled. So just speaking in front of council, so council selects the two candidates for Congress. And so we're sitting there, we're doing this whole process and being interviewed and tough questions. And I think Seth can contest to this. Like, I'm so glad Evan Meyer was not on council the year I was there because he asked the difficult questions to the group that's running. And it's like just having those questions asked to you and really getting to like express your thoughts and your vision for the program and what things you want to put into action this next year. And then they select, and after that selection, you prepare yourself for Congress and giving a speech and trying to get around and tell everyone your vision, your thoughts, why they should vote for you. What's definitely like a different aspect, like I felt gave you a lot more respect for politics and like how like things work and how to understand and get to know each other, and yet like try to be personal to people and not just be there to like take their vote. Like, that's not the purpose of it. It's to actually get to know the people and their thoughts and their views and try to take that, because regardless of if you get elected or not, you're still going to be on the exec for the next year. So taking the opportunity and then giving a speech in front of people, which Seth can tell you about my speech, but but yeah, so just have that speech in front of people, and then seeing the whole process. And then we find out the night before they're announced. So just having that time to let the other candidate like whoever loses just understand things, comprehend it. And the next day when it's announced, it's just another shocker. It's just like how you heard your name announced, and moving forward from there, it's not necessarily like about the title. It's about the duty that office has. So, doing your best as an exec team and as an individual to go the extra mile and make the program a little bit better is the reason we do it. It's not the reason for the title.
I like that. That was a great answer. Are you taking notes, Seth?
Yeah, I did. I got some, but I may have to go back and watch that. But no, you bring up a good point, because like sometimes I feel like we get caught up in, I'm a rep, so I don't have to do things, but it's not working to be a rep, it's your rep to be working. And I think that's really important for people to remember.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool experience, and especially going through it and listen to different people, because I was talking to Sarah Townley, and she talked about her time and being El Presidente and what that was like, and it's interesting. So who are the people that are on the state staff, the advisors right now?
So this year's is Brad Anderson, Sarah Moorfield from Kansas City, Stephanie Schindler from East Central, and then Gus Robinson from Urban East, and then Joyce Taylor every year. We love Joyce.
Absolutely. And I haven't. Sarah Moorfield is great in the interactions we've had. I haven't worked with her as that much, but I've been around Stephanie Schindler a little more, and I really enjoy her. And Gus is really interesting. I really enjoy the time I got to spend with him at our retreats and stuff like that. So you guys have a great staff to be around. And of course, there's always Brad, and Brad's Brad, and I like that about him. He's always insightful and offer opinions and stuff like that when you need help. And he's our YPA liaison, so we talk to Brad quite a bit. So
yeah.
Seth, you got any more questions? Because I'm all out.
I'm out as well. So,
is there anything you want to say? Closing remark. Time's yours.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to briefly hit a little bit here, but I think it's very important for who's ever watching this to really think about your involvement in 4-H and how you can get more involved. We're sitting in a time where like it's not the same as it used to, and the worst thing that can happen is we go back to normal. We need to keep up what we were doing online and social media platforms, and just really increase that, but like maintain like the things we're having, making the best better. So don't be afraid to reach out to your staff members. They're willing to help. They're here for a reason. Take the extra mile. Ask them questions. Ask us questions. Try a new thing. Like maybe it's a new project. Maybe you're going to try something first at the fair. Show livestock. Maybe enter a project at the fair. Attend the state fair. There's so many opportunities with events. There's something literally for everyone. So don't be afraid just to try it once. Like the worst thing that can happen is you absolutely hate it. And if that happens, find something else that's yours. Like make something out of the best. Like our motto is making the best better. And I hope that our 4-Hers really take that to heart and do the things that will set them in a good pace for the future. So just don't be afraid to try new things. That's hugely important. And if it wasn't for me trying new things, I don't know, I wouldn't be here right now. If it wasn't for me getting probably involved with poultry, like I wouldn't be as involved now whatsoever. So try new things, find what's yours, and take it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That was a great way to end this podcast. I'll probably have this put up later today and then get it on YouTube. So I can email you a link, or if there's anyone that I need to make sure I get a hold of to put that on so you can see it, or other people in your region can, just let me know.
Okay.
I'll tag Seth, and maybe he can do it with the council people or whatever he needs to do. But
yeah, awesome.
I thank you so much for your time. Good luck in the future, and Stay
you for
safe
your
out there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no problem. No problem. It was awesome. And thank you, Seth. I don't want to leave you out. You're kind of sitting over there quiet, like he's not really going to say anything to me. You've been a great co-host. We'll have to do some more of these.
Yeah.
Will do.
Well, I
Hey,
appreciate you doing this for us.
and Brent, if you want to hop on and you got some people that you'd like to talk to, anybody from your exec team, and you want to co-host, I'd be glad to have them on there, and let's tell some 4-H stories while we got some downtime. I'm all about this.
Thank you very much.
All right. Seth, you had anything now that I cut you off twice?
I don't. Good to be here.
All right. Thanks, guys.
We'll see you later.